Hello to you all. I'm Adis Obaba with OBN's English News, and here is the first one. Members of the House of People's Representatives have discussed draft bill of education and training submitted by the Ministry of Education for further comments and approval. Lata Terres has more on that.
Minister of Education Ministry, Dr. Delegate, who presented the Education and Training Draft Bill to the House of People's Representatives, stressed the need to work with due emphasis to solve the problems observed in the education and training system of the country.
While we present this draft bill to this House, we are not only demanding approval, but also to be worked with due attention on solving the problems in the education system after it discussed by various segments of the society found at all levels, as per the direction set by the government, making the necessary supervision is also crucial.
The minister pointed out that only 4 million kids whose age is 4 up to 6 years go to preschool education. What he said was not satisfactory. He added that the number of students attending their education in primary school means from grade 1 up to 8 is also not as required. Dr. Tley reiterated that the number of students that go to secondary school is not increasing as needed from year to year. The minister has raised his concerns over the narrow classroom and quality of the construction of schools in different places. According to the minister, the attention that has to be given to quality and expansion of technical vocational education and training as well as higher learning institutions is also not as expected. Based on these problems and others, opinions and ideas pertaining to improvement of education and training systems have been presented to the members of the House of People's Representatives. Among these areas, learning in mother tongue and quality education were the major ones.
The education policy, which was drafted in 1994 and got international recognition, states that the students of Ethiopia shall learn in their mother tongue. Pedagogy also indicates the importance of learning in mother tongue. So, due attention should be given in this draft bill about this issue. Generally, the improvement made in the education system is good. However, due attention should be given to quality education.
According to OBN's Alam, the improvement is mainly focused on education expansion, education structure, teachers' education, technical vocational education and training, as well as attention of higher learning institutions, finance and educational administration.
Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed yesterday launched a national initiative to improve Ethiopia's investment climate. The initiative said is an integral part of Ethiopia's action plan for jobs. Oluma Bain has more on that.
Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed has conferred with ministers on how to reform trade and investment system in the country. Prime Minister Dr. Abiy said that reforming trade and investment system is very essential to attract both domestic and foreign investors.
ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ በቀላሉ ስራ መጀመር አይቻልም ረዘም ያለ ጊዜ የሚወስድ
It is very difficult to easily invest in Ethiopia unless complicated bureaucratic situations and systems are reformed. There are also very weak service provision systems. Tax collection systems have also many limitations. There are many situations that causes problems. The first one is lack of a strong relation with investors. For instance, many investors haven't worked to the extent of our expectation. This is due to lack of facility. This leads the country to be the least in investment. Law consultant at the Prime Minister Office, Abeba Abayo, also presented a research paper on how to improve investment process in the country. We have to have short, medium and long-term plans to strengthen our investment system. The research paper reveals that investment and trade system of the country are old and vulnerable to corruption. The ministers have also raised their comments and suggestions on the presented research paper.
We have to focus on what we have to do first. We have to also see experience of other countries. For instance, India has a good experience in this regard. We can also take Rwanda and Singapore as our benchmark. In doing so, we can improve our trade and investment sectors. We have to redefine NGO, whether they are supporting our investment and trade or not. There is a gap in working with NGOs. We have to improve this.
Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed met with the Law and Justice Advisory Council set up 4 months ago by the Attorney General's office. He expressed his appreciation for the voluntary work they have undertaken over the past months in reviewing and recommending legal reforms. Mukhtar Haji has the story.
Members of the Laws and Justice Advisory Council have presented a report to the Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed. According to the report, members of the Council have undertaken different researches on which they have ratified laws.
Charities and societies. First, we have researched and investigated the law of charity society, and it has been ratified. We have also completed our investigation on the laws of anti-terrorism to be improved. We have been researching on media law, which will be completed soon.
Members of the Council underscored that the law of election and electoral board of the country would be presented to the session, the next round of meeting of the Council with the Premier. Administrative law, professional law and the law on prison have been under process to be ratified, but the law of trade would be prepared from the very ground in a new manner. On the event, Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed said law should be improved and diversified through discussion and dialogue.
The law should be diversified through discussion. If the forum to discuss the law would not be prepared, it would be difficult to diversify the law. Lack of understanding on the law may result in difficulty.
Dr. Abiy said the law against terrorism in the country should be the law that prohibits terrorism rather than to identify the terrorists.
We should balance our law as much as important it is. We should not watch it for improvement after the act of terrorism takes place. Our laws should never work to control those who criticize us, the government.
A national conference which focuses on the relationship between employees and employers is underway at the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa Conference Center. The conference, organized by Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, is being held with the theme Industrial Peace for Inclusive and Sustainable Development. The conference, which will discuss on problem of employee-employer relationship and its solution, has brought together senior government officials, including Deputy Prime Minister Dammaqaa Mokonnin. The two-day event has brought together stakeholders and more than 500 participants drawn from labor and social affairs as well as higher education institutions. Some scholars from Ambo University advised OLF and ODP leaders to settle their disagreements and work towards cementing the unity of the Oromo people. Sore Chakabanich has the details.
Associate Professors Brown Disasa and Frafi Sailer, lecturers at Ambo University. The two lecturers, besides the teaching and the learning activities, they are involving in different studies in the region and the country. Both of them are closely watching the current political scenario in the country. They advised that the disagreement between the two Oromo political parties should get immediate solution before leading the Oromo people to more complex political problems. They said that ODP and OLF should bring peace to save the Oromo people.
If they have other reasons that leads them to conflict, they should tolerate each other for the sake of their people, the people they are saying struggling for.
What they have to understand, and other ordinary people have to know, is that the political parties emerge from the people and not the people that emerge from the political parties. When we say this, these two political parties were established to protect the Oromo people's right, as anyone knows it, so they have no reason to get into conflict.
The two scholars argue that the Oromo people have passed through difficult conditions and paid a lot of sacrifice to bring the current political change in the country. Due to this, the political party should not let the people to pay unnecessary sacrifice.
If really these political parties respect their people, they should ignore the recent agreement and prepare themselves for democratic election.
The scholars called upon Abba Gadas and the elders of Oromos to work on solving the problems occurred between two parties. They advised the political parties to appropriately use the opportunity available to discuss and debate on their issues peacefully.
The Oromia Urban Development and Housing Bureau has concluded the training it was providing to experts drawn from different parts of Oromia on urban policies and strategies. Aklilu Gabro has more on that.
Training which has been offered for new urban sector experts and officials on policies and strategies was concluded. While winding up the event, head of the Oromia Urban Development and Housing Bureau, Dr. Engineer Fikadu Fufa, said that policies and strategies should be implemented in a way that ensures the benefit of the public.
This training enables you to know and implement the policies and the strategies for socio-economic and the political benefit of the nation.
Dr. Engineer Fikadu urged the trainees to work for the nation by the knowledge and skills they have acquired so far. The trainees were certified and visited developmental works undertaken in Adama town. Some trainees had to say the following about their training.
We have get better knowledge on urban policies and strategies that enable us to solve long-standing public grievances.
We've got good input on how to expand roads, administer better and green areas in our town administrations, she said. Participants drawn from central part, eastern and southern Oromia zones have attended the training.
The State of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Marcos Takle, received Kerdis Atioker, Ambassador of Thailand to Ethiopia, at his office. On the occasion, Dr. Marcos praised the historical relationship between the two countries and the exemplary economic transformation that Thailand exhibited over the years. He added that Ethiopia is keen to draw lessons from Thailand's development model and experiences in many sectors, especially in the area of tourism, hospitality, medicine and agriculture. Dr. Marcos further expressed his appreciation to the Thai leadership for its interest to strengthen relations with Ethiopia, adding that the relation between the two countries is ushering in a new era of cooperation. Ambassador Kerdis Atioker expressed his government's readiness to invest in Ethiopia. Ethiopia and Thailand have enjoyed cordial diplomatic relationship since 1964. Ethiopia could save $1 billion in 5 years if it puts in place a standard public projects administration and management system, said the National Planning and Development Commission. Commissioner of the National Planning and Development Commission, Dr. Fitsum Asafa, made the remark here at an event organized to discuss the draft legal framework for public development projects administration and management. Studies revealed that delay in public projects such as sugar, railway, fertilizer and hydropower projects produce from 60 to 160% additional costs. The draft document tabled for discussion was required to address the challenges facing the sector, it was noted. The document, which consisted of the power and the duties as well as accountability of executive organs, will be referred to the Attorney General once it is enriched with the necessary recommendation, it was indicated. That's all the news that we have for today. Thank you for watching. Coming next is Focus, and for this week Focus program, we look at security sector reform in the Soma regional states, and the Soma region is emerging from years of turmoil, and a new President Mustafa Muhammad Umar, who was appointed last August, is overseeing a slew of reforms. Mustafa recently sat down exclusively with OBN and for a wide-ranging interview. Here is part 2 of that interview with Muhammad Adamo, and have a nice time with that part.
The interviews that you gave to the media, but something that stood out to me, you've singled out 2 individuals, very specific individuals, at least according to this article, for the oppression of the Somali people over the last 2 decades. That is Abai Zahaye in a general quarter. Was that your comment, first and foremost, and then maybe if you could talk to us why you singled out two people out of many that obviously enabled the previous administration?
Well, I think the broader conversation was what happened in this region, and the fact that some individuals and some people were responsible for what happened here, including Abdile, the regional president, but also people who sponsored him. I think that's a factual statement. Of course, we cannot. Things have happened here, bad things have happened here, and it wouldn't be fair to characterize the whole organization or whole region or whole people as perpetrators, supporters of this violence, or enablers of this violence. Ultimately, the buck stops with some individuals, those people who called the shot at that time. And I think I gave the interview in that framework. The idea was not to single out any individual, because that also will give the wrong impression that individuals were responsible and not the system. So I stand by the comments I made, which is that the Somali people in this region were brutalized, were murdered, were displaced, were killed. Anybody who wants to run away from this fact is not ready to accept, is not for a reform. Yes, I may be accused of being an activist for saying these things, or not. Maybe it may not be politically correct, but the point remains that we need to speak about what happened in this region in a louder voice. I think the federal government is not doing enough in terms of telling the story of repression and violence that took place in this country. I understand the reasons why. It's very delicate. But to the extent it's framed in a very good way, I don't think we have to shy away from apportioning blame to those who have done damage as part of the system. And I don't subscribe to the school of thought that says violence is committed by an organization or by ethnicity or by all. No, violence was commonplace. So many people were killed from all ethnicities. The perpetrators are across all ethnicities. The victims are from all ethnicities. But at the end of the day, there are people who are sitting on a position of responsibility. And those people cannot hide under the name of collective leadership when the story of their actions is told.
Is there anything specific, though, that you feel Abai Zahaye, General Quarter, has done differently from the other people that you have not mentioned in that interview?
Most of the atrocities in Somali region were committed in the last 11 years. Now, who was in charge of the army here? And the stories of the contraband, the sleaze, the corruption, the killings are well documented and captured by even the internal evaluations of these entities, institutions. So I wouldn't want to make it look like specific. I'm targeting individuals specifically. But yes, there were people who were disproportionately involved and invested in the Somali region politics over the last 20 years. And those individuals, their names will have to appear along with the story of this region. And that was the essence of my comment.
The challenge for your government, or the government of Ethiopia now, is some people need to be held accountable. I don't think we can escape that. The level of abuse that have taken place in this country is almost shocking to hear. You can talk about the embezzlement at METEC, the Metals and Engineering Corporation. We've also seen some very shocking details of personal accounts of victims of torture by the National Intelligence Service. People are saying some of these efforts by the Attorney General's office to hold people accountable are ethnic witch hunt, or some ethnic groups are being targeted. Is that a difficult balance for the government?
Well, you can't hunt down criminals on the basis of quota, isn't it? You should hunt them on the basis of their actions and what they have done. So if a certain group was disproportionately committing atrocities and crimes and beatings in the key institutions, then it's obvious that when the day of the judgment comes, there will be some disproportion in terms of the ethnic mix-up of the perpetrators. This is, I mean, as a general statement, not to point finger to anyone. But I don't buy the idea that this is ethnic witch hunt. I think the argument has to be, are these individuals who are being identified as criminals or who have been accused of committing these crimes, are they the people who have done these crimes or not? That's the basis of the discussion. And then we move into, are there others who have been left out? So if the debate is that others also who have participated in this are not captured, definitely it's a valid debate, and the national discourse has to move there. We have to bring all perpetrators of violence, just matter from what ethnicity they are. So this is a legitimate argument. However, you cannot use ethnic witch hunt as an argument to defend criminals. And I think the temptation now is the latter. The temptation now seems to defend outright criminals on the basis of their ethnicity, which is not going to buy, which is not going to sell at all. And the harrowing tales of people in jails that we have seen only the last one day, I think, on the documentaries we are seeing, need some response in terms of bringing those who committed this. It's not also surprising that people who have been in position of power over the last 27 years in the key institutions, the institutions that in the military, intelligence and all, are the people who are now being hunted down. Is there a dispute about that? Is anybody saying that individual X from intelligence service, individual X from the police have not committed anything? I would like to see that. I don't think this is be the time for politicking and politicizing what's purely a legal matter. But if there's a shortcoming in the way this is done, then I think people should come up with facts and speak about the individuals they say have not been prosecuted and should have been prosecuted. I think law is not a matter of opinion in this sense. I think facts have to dictate who is going to be arrested and who is going to be asked, who is going to be prosecuted.
Finally, have you met Abdi Ile?
Now?
Before or now?
We are from the same town. We grew up together.
So you know him?
Very much. We are from the same village. We grew up together. As a matter of fact, the only academic certificate he got, I think, that I know of, before he became a president, later on he got money, is Management Institute, 1 year open university, 1 year certificate. And as unseemly as it is, I recommended him and I took him there. So yes, we knew each other that much, having been from the same school and the same town. He's also from Redhapur.
So the person you know and the person he has become, is he hard to reconcile?
No, there's no difference. I knew him as a young man, and I've always seen him as a very troubled young man. So I was not surprised by his actions when he comes to position of power. As a matter of fact, the evidence is there that all of my friends have been telling this guy can turn dangerous. In 2004, we refused him a job or as a tax collector, as a finance, and I think it was finance and budget head of the office of the revenue, regional revenue office. I was part of a committee which was structuring the regional staff, the regional civil servants, and we declined him that position for some reasons to do with the certificates he brought, and the reaction from him was very revealing. He went ballistic and he did many things that shocked me. I mean, so many people were denied positions, but his reaction was very amazing. So He was from a single mother. He was raised by his mother. From the time I know he was raised by his mother, he went through very abject poverty. As a young man, he had trouble with his mom. And knowing what I know from the background, I think that magnitude at the early age of experiences, the life experiences, has contributed to him getting where he is now. So I'm not very surprised, yes.
So of course, we've seen some statements from him that it's not all him. Someone put a gun to his head, forced him to oversee some of these human rights violations and the brutalization of the Somali people. So you don't buy that?
As a matter of fact, then in that interview, if I'm right, it's Getachew Assefa.
Yes.
Isn't it? Give the devil his due. Whatever Getachew Assefa has done at the national level, the consensus in the Somali region is that he was the only one who was fighting Abdile for a long period of time until the Oromo uprising in 2015. I think this is what everybody tells me here, including former members of the cabinet here, who some of them are now working with us. In every evaluation sessions, meetings the regional government was having in Addis Ababa, what I heard is that Getachew Assefa was a known foe of Abdile, raising so many issues regarding the atrocities here and all and kind of things. This is what we know. This is what we have heard. Not to malign, not to attack or give a bad name to somebody who is already in problem. But I think the former president was extremely dishonest in saying that Getachew Assefa held a gun to his head so that he can kill people. There are others who are rumored to have done that. But he should have come up front and said who they are. Because everybody in this region knows that that's not the story. So we were surprised why he was attaching the blame to the wrong person when the godfathers were well known. Yes. When the godfathers of the former president were well known. On the issue of relating why are some people sitting comfortably in their areas, maybe they did not kill their own people. Maybe people from Makele, from people from Bahardar, people from others, maybe they have not killed their own people and they now have the comfort of going back to where they are from. But in his case, I don't think he can comfortably sit in Jijia anyway.
Finally, do you think the Ethiopian justice system, the courts are equipped, independent enough to deal with these very complex, very brutal cases of human rights abuses that have accumulated over years?
My knowledge on the justice system is not much, but we can get the capacity that we need. It's a matter of willingness rather than ability. If we are willing and committed to see through this process of justice for victims, I think we can find the capacity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.